National Party Director. Now, much of our time together over these last few days has been focused on one thing: getting our country back. As others have spent years talking about it, deliberating over it, trying to decide whether they believe Britain is capable of standing proud in the world on its own 2 feet, we have been there fighting for it. Certain in our knowledge that Britain can only have a bright future, we all need, when it gets its independence. It was the ordinary men and women of my grandparents' generation who once fought in a war so horrific that most people my age can scarcely begin to imagine. They fought in that war to secure the freedom, the liberties, the independence that many of my generation take for granted. But they did that not only for themselves, but for the generations that would follow them. Unfortunately, what did follow were the politicians of my parents' generation, who systematically and unjustifiably handed those freedoms away. I'm proud to stand here as a member of the only party prepared, willing, and able to get those freedoms back. Our moment to right those wrongs is finally within sight. Our moment to win back the freedoms and independence of our great nation is finally within reach. And for the security of the generations that will follow, we can't afford to fail. Now, whilst our referendum next year will remain the focus, we still have elections to fight. We still have seats to win. And that's what we're going to be talking about with you in this session. Our result in May was remarkable because of the inspirational efforts of our membership and the incredible calibre of our candidates. Now, just by way of reference, could I ask anybody that stood for us in May to just stand up? Any May general election candidate, just stand up for us, please. Ladies and gentlemen, these people put their heads above the parapet. They led our charge into battle in May, and in doing so helped us to secure 4 million votes, and they deserve a huge round of applause again, please. Our candidates also demonstrated that we have now entered a new era of professionalism with our candidate training, assessment and adoption process. And as your party director, I'm proud and privileged to have an opportunity now to take that process forward. Following on from the general election in May, our party began its process of selecting candidates to stand for us in next year's Assembly, parliamentary and mayoral races in Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland and London. In most cases, that process is still ongoing, but I'm delighted to tell you that today I'm going to be in a position to announce to you the list of candidates who will be representing our party in London next year. This election in our nation's capital will be another opportunity to build on the electoral successes of May. It's going to take hard work, it's going to take doggedness, and it's going to take determination. But we're confident that we will take seats in the London Assembly, and I'm incredibly proud of the team that have been selected to take that fight to the old parties. Our process included an assessment panel that was made up of myself, Chris Brunello, our campaign director, Adam Richardson, our General Secretary, Mick McGough of our National Executive Committee, our wonderful member of the European Parliament for the East Midlands, Margot Parker, our London Regional Chairman, John Hellings, and our own London superstar, long-standing member, Mr. Roger Gravitt. I'm delighted to have Chris, John, and Roger with me now. I'd ask them to come up on the stage as we announce the list. Unfortunately, Mick and Margot can't be with us today, but they're fully supportive of the outcome of this process. The panel worked through a process that scored candidates based on ability and suitability for a much-coveted place on the London list. The process was fair, it was open, and it has been overseen by our National Executive Committee. Helping us were over 100 London members who attended one of many hustings-style events which have taken place in London over recent weeks. And I can't thank them enough for giving up their time to help participate in what was one of the most in-depth candidate selection processes our party has ever held. We were overwhelmed with the candidates who applied, and as you'll see shortly, we have a remarkable list to present to London for their consideration. But perhaps more remarkable still is the knowledge that our strength and depth is such we could have produced another list from those candidates that didn't quite make it that would have still done our party proud. Now, it gives me great pleasure to announce our list, our prospective list of candidates for London, most of which are here and are going to join me on stage. Gentlemen, do you mind just stepping this one? I'll have the candidates line here. Our 11th list candidate is to be Elizabeth Jones. Our 10th list candidate is to be Afzal Akram. Our 9th candidate, who can't be here today sadly, is Anne-Marie Waters. Our 8th candidate is Piers Walcott. Our number 7 candidate is Neville Watson. Our 6th candidate, who also sends his apologies, is Mike Reid. Our number 5 candidate is Peter Harris. Our number 4 candidate is Lawrence Webb. Our number 3 candidate is Suzanne Evans. Our number 2 candidate is David Curtin. Piers Walcott has now arrived. Piers, please take your place on the stage, sir. I am delighted to announce that our number 1 list candidate and the member who is going to stand in London as our mayoral candidate for 2016 is Mr. Peter Whittle.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, what an honor. And it means so much to me too, because as so many of us are here, I think all of us, I'm a born and bred Londoner. My parents were Londoners, their parents were Londoners. I've lived and worked in London all my life, and it's part of me, it's part of my character. And I won't keep us long because I know we've got a lot to get through. But I wanted to start first by actually congratulating Paul Ogden and this team for doing what was a marvellous and rigorous, and I have to say nail-biting, process of selecting us all. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you. And I would say this is, as we go forward, I want you as well to take a look at this team here. And this is what UKIP really is, not what the media would have you think. The diversity of our candidates, this is what we really are. And this is a fantastic and possibly the strongest team we've ever had to go forward in London. I'd say now that often people say London is very difficult for UKIP. Well, at the last general election, we actually got 9% of the vote in London. We are the third party now in terms of votes in London. And this time, I'm convinced we're going to have a real and lasting voice for UKIP in London. And just one thing I would add to that as well, by way of conclusion. I stood in Eltham, which is where I grew up. I stood in the general election in Eltham. And we had huge numbers of people coming over to us for the first time. And we came third, 6,500 votes there. Most of the people who came over to us were Labour voters. Now, there are a huge number of Labour voters in London, like there are around the country, who basically are looking at that party now and seeing it going to the very extremes. This is a huge opportunity for us, particularly in London. We have to give those people a voice. And I hope that with myself at the helm and this fantastic team, that's exactly what we're going to do in 2016. So thank you very, very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, our London candidates for 2016, thank you very much.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.